Niccolo Machiavelli to His Magnificence Lorenzo de' Medici. Those who wish to win the favour of a prince will generally approach him with gifts of what they value most or what they believe will most delight him. Hence we see princes being offered horses, arms, vestments of gold and precious stones. Wishing to present myself to your magnificence with a token of my deepest respect, I have found among my possessions nothing that I value or esteem higher than my knowledge of the deeds of great men. Your magnificence will recognize that I cannot offer you a greater gift than the prospect of your understanding in the shortest period all that I have experienced and learned over so many years and with so much danger and hardship. I hope therefore that your magnificence will accept this humble gift in the spirit in which it is offered. Should you condescend to read and consider it carefully, you will perceive in its pages my profound desire that your magnificence will rise to the greatness that fortune and your qualities promise. And should your magnificence deign to look down from the lofty summit of your eminence to these lowly depths, you will see how I have suffered undeservedly fortune's great and continuing malignity. Of the kinds of principalities that exist and how they can be acquired. Men must either be flattered or eliminated. Principalities are either hereditary with a long-established bloodline or new. States that are hereditary and tied to the bloodline of their prince are easier to maintain than new ones. If such a prince is of at least average ability, he can retain his position of power so long as no extraordinary or excessive force deprive him of it. If this prince is deprived of his state, he will find he can reacquire it if any misfortune befalls the usurper. A hereditary prince has less cause to mistreat his subjects and so is more loved by them. If unusual vices do not make him hated, it is to be expected that he will be loved by his people. It is in the new principality that the difficulties lie. Men will willingly change their ruler in the hope that they will fare better, a hope that leads them to take up arms against their old ruler. But in this they are deceived, because, as they invariably discover, their lot under a new ruler is inevitably worse. This is the result of another natural and basic inevitability, that you cannot avoid offending those whose new ruler you are, both with your armed soldiers and with innumerable other provocations that come in the wake of a conquest. You end up making enemies of all those you have offended during your conquest of the principality, and you find that you cannot keep the friendship of those who helped you to power, since you cannot satisfy them in the way they had envisioned. What's more, you cannot take strong measures against them, as you are indebted to them. Even with the most powerful army, if you want to invade a state, you need the support of the people. If the states a prince acquires are of the same country and language as his own, it's much easier to retain them, particularly if they are not used to freedom. To hold them securely, it's enough to extinguish the line of the previous prince who ruled them. As for the rest, if the new acquisition's former state of affairs is kept and there is no difference in customs, men will live quite peacefully, as we have seen in Burgundy, Brittany, Gascony, and Normandy, which for a long time now have all belonged to France. Although there is some difference in language, their customs are similar, and their people get along with one another quite easily. But difficulties arise when you acquire states in a land with differing languages, customs, and laws. To keep these states, you need good fortune and much diligence. One of the best and quickest solutions is for the new prince to go and live in his new state. This makes the possession more durable and secure. The Turks did this in Greece. Another efficient remedy is to set up colonies in one or two places that will act as the shackles of your new state. If you don't set up colonies, you will have to send a great number of troops to secure it, while a colony can be established and maintained at negligible cost. The only subjects who will be affronted are those whose fields and houses will be confiscated to be given to the new colonists. But these dispossessed subjects make up only a small part of the state and will end up poor and dispersed and so can do no harm. The rest of your new subjects will not be affronted and hence will be acquiescent, but will also be frightened of transgressing, worried that they too might be dispossessed. In short, men must either be flattered or eliminated. This is because a man will readily avenge a slight grievance, but not one that is truly severe. It follows that the offence done a man must be of the kind that cannot incur vengeance. It's also important when a prince has conquered a foreign state that he become the protector of the surrounding weaker powers and do all he can to weaken the stronger ones. The Romans were careful to follow these principles in the provinces they conquered, establishing colonies, supporting the less powerful without increasing their strength, undercutting the strong and not letting powerful foreigners gain standing there. The Romans did what every wise prince must do. They kept their eyes trained not only on present problems but also on future ones. Future problems must be anticipated with great care, because when one sees these problems approaching, they can still be remedied, whereas if one waits for them to arrive, it will be too late to administer medicine. The illness will have become incurable. As physicians say of consumption, in the first stages it is easy to cure, though hard to detect, but with the progress of time, if not detected or treated, consumption becomes easy to detect but hard to cure. The Romans recognized potential difficulties in advance and always remedied them in time. They never let problems develop just so they could escape a war, for they knew that such wars can't be avoided, only postponed to the advantage of others. The Romans never liked the dictum we constantly hear from the wise men of our day, that time will take care of things. The Romans preferred to take care of things by means of their own skill and prudence, because time will sweep everything before it and can bring good things as well as bad things as well as good. When an acquired state has been accustomed to living in freedom under its own laws, there are three ways of securing it. The first is to destroy it. The second is to move there oneself. The third is to let it live with its own laws, exacting a tribute and creating within it a regime of a selected few who will keep it friendly toward you. As the regime of the state has been created by the new prince, it knows it cannot exist without his goodwill and power and must do everything to maintain him. The best way to keep a city accustomed to living freely is through its citizens. Consider, for example, the Spartans and the Romans. The Spartans occupied Athens and Thebes, creating a state governed by a few, though they lost this state again. The Romans, on the other hand, destroyed Capua, Carthage, and Numantia, therefore did not lose them. They also wanted to occupy Greece in almost the same way the Spartans had occupied Athens and Thebes, making it free and with its own laws. This didn't work, and the Romans ended up having to destroy many of Greece's cities in order to keep the province. In fact, the only secure way of keeping such a city is to destroy it, and whoever becomes the ruler of a city that is used to living free without destroying it can expect to be destroyed by the city. Because when such a city rebels, it always waves the banners of liberty and its former government. Liberty is not forgotten with the passage of time or through any benefits bestowed by the new ruler. Whatever a new prince does, if the inhabitants are not dispersed or driven into quarrelling factions, they will never forget the former government or order of things and will quickly revert to it at every opportunity. This is what happened in Pisa after 100 years of servitude to the Florentines. It's a different matter when cities or states are accustomed to living under a prince and his bloodline is extinguished. They are used to obeying, and they don't have their former prince. They will not be capable of uniting to elect a prince from among themselves, and they don't know how to live in freedom without a prince. Consequently, they are slower at taking up arms, and a new prince can win and secure them with greater ease. But in republics there is more vitality, more hatred, and more desire for revenge. The memory of former freedom simply will not leave the people in peace. In this case, the safest course is for the prince either to go and live there himself, or to destroy them.